TE Talks with Guides is a weekly podcast for lovers of history, travel, and all things Italian. Welcome back, everybody, to TE Talks, sponsored by Through Eternity Tours. I'm your host, Rob Allen, and on TE Talks, we get to talk with some of the most fascinating people who make a living out of being wonderful storytellers. Please remember, if you enjoyed listening to this podcast and listen to some of our other ones, please do write us a review and give us a rating. It is always extremely helpful to get the word out and let other people know about who we are and what we do and all of this wonderful free content that you can have. Today, we're going to be talking about Florence, visiting Florence in a day with the ever-loving Angelo. Ciao, Angelo.
Ciao, buonasera. How are you, Rob?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Good. So everybody, when you guys are thinking about if you want to travel to Florence and you have specific questions for us, we are happy to answer them, and we're happy to read them out on the podcast eventually. So do write your questions to office@througheternity.com. So OFFICE@THROUGHETERNITY.com. Gosh, I always think that's such a mouthful.
That's good. Amazing.
Don't have me try to say it with the Italian pronunciation of the alphabet. That'll drive people crazy. Anyway, Angelo, so how have things been going? We saw you the last time when we did the video together, which was in September of 2021. I haven't seen you then. And you took me and Dylan out to a couple of lovely dinners, and I owe you a couple of dinners. They were magnificent.
Great.
Now, it was like we went there. It was the perfect weather. And everybody, if you're listening to the podcast, just to let you know, Angelo has some big shoes to fill because he did a previous podcast about just the Duomo, the Cathedral of Florence. And it had the most downloads out of any podcast that we've ever done. So it's very, very impressive, Angelo. Why do you think that is? Why do you think you have so many people reading or listening to you speak? Do you think that you have a special skill, or did you just have a lot of people come to listen to it? Just kidding.
Okay, maybe because I'm good. No, I'm joking. I think it's because the subject is Florence. Florence is really amazing. And
Yes.
if I can tell you right now, the city is coming back. Every day you can see more people around. The sun is start to shine even stronger than before, probably because we're all happy to be outside.
Mm-hmm.
And so actually this city is perfect. It's full of art, it's romantic, it's amazing, it's welcoming. Distances are not that, crazy. So it's a walking distance place. You can enjoy walking in the pedestrian area. That's why I think Florence is really a city that captivates the attention of everybody. Mm-hmm. And, I was just lucky to be the one who had the chance and, the honor probably also to talk about this amazing place. Mm-hmm. More and more you fall in love with the city. It's true.
Yeah. This is true. I mean, we're doing these TE Destinations videos, season 2 on our YouTube channel. And we've already done Venice, Verona, Padua, and the Venetian Islands. So next is coming out this week is Florence. And this is a special one. Well, first of all, because you are featured in it, you're one of the guys who's very okay with talking and chatting with me. We haven't had that in a while. And we've loved it because we've been able to get out of Rome to do a lot of these videos. And we had a blast. I had a blast. Dylan had a blast. And because Florence is Florence, we have to do at least to start with 2 videos. So we have the one with you, and then we have another one with Costanza going on about off the beaten path. Now, we do cover we cover outside of the Duomo. We don't go inside, but we do a couple of things on this video that I wanted to talk to you about. Mm-hmm. But I definitely want to say it is a wonderful city. And one of the places in the video, and you can see me in it. And it's something that I think, guys, you can at least appreciate when you watch it, that you hopefully it will be so busy this won't happen anymore. But I mean, to be able to stand in front of the David with practically nobody being there was really lovely for me, and a great opportunity for us at least to go and see it. But let's start back with the Duomo because we got to go up into the bell tower designed originally by Giotto. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
All right. Think about something that Italy in the 1200, it's really the place, the peninsula where everything is happening. And so all the architecture was a way to represent the strength, the power, the economy, the political influence of a city. So as nowadays, growing up economy are trying to build taller buildings in order to impress the world with their strength, so that it in the past. And so Florence is trying to really make a big statement to the world. We know what we're doing, and we're able to do, and we are the best. Therefore, the tower has to be perceived in this way. To not forget that probably the most important example before the Giotto bell tower is the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Now, you know that Florentines and the Pisani, so the inhabitants of Pisa, they don't go well. Actually, we have a high sense of rivalry. Of course, with Florence, their tower is leaning. Hello. But beside the jokes, let's really give them an applause for what they've done in the 1100. The people of Pisa didn't know that they were going to build a tower where used to be a river in the Roman times. So the foundation should have been deeper because the soil was too soft. So in the world, and of course in Tuscany, there was a big shock about building a tower. That was a dream that couldn't be true, that couldn't come true. But the Florentines, they not only succeeded with that, but they also wanted to give a message of strength of the building per se. So if you actually observe the tower, and you just stare at it and you are precise in the analysis of the tower, you will notice that the base, it's also from the decoration part, is very, very steady. It's very horizontal. And once you go to the top, you will start to feel more and more, and then to see and appreciate the sense of the verticality, and the building gets light. It's a building you've been in very heavy inside, but then the outside looks so light that it's almost flying and it knocks over you. And that is because the Florentines more and more, thanks to Giotto and the other architects, got confident. And they were aware of the role they had in society, in the world, in finance, in economy. Think about now the growing up economy of the world. We can start with United States back in the late 18th, beginning of the 1900s. Think about the Empire State Building. Think about also, the Chrysler Building. Think about what, have been done in Chicago. Think about also in Asia. Think about the importance now of the tallest building somewhere in Dubai. And everybody is fascinated by those buildings. So the Florentines in the 1200 were doing that. You can't find these everywhere. For example, you can find this in Rome.
Are we going to start with this again?
No.
Oh, really? We got to go there?
Facts.
Oh my God. Okay. Yes. Well, Rome doesn't have that many important bell towers. We do have lovely medieval towers. We also have a famous, well, at least me, a famous leaning medieval tower, the Torre di Milizie, right?
Yes, very nice too, actually.
Yeah, again, we have the Pantheon, so I'm okay with anything you want to
heard about that.
up to. Pantheon was about what? How old was it when the Tower of Pisa or the Tower of Florence was built?
We're losing followers now.
Yeah, sure. Anyway, so let's get this clear. And you've made some wonderful points about this. First of all, the Tower of Pisa, and we're going to be doing a video about Pisa and Lucca, was built first, and then the Florentines built theirs. Correct, it's designed by Giotto. And let's kind of say Giotto is probably one of the first international artists, is really known for his style. And the wealthy, the leaders of all the other Italian city-states, including the Pope, want his work.
Correct.
And so the people of Florence get him to do this. So this is interesting.
Giotto is a Florentine artist, just to, anyway, specify that he was very much beloved. And also, even if he could only take care for very few years of the towers, though anyway, the towers is named after him, but Giotto is a great painter. In fact, if you will ever be in Florence, well, do not miss the frescoes. In the Basilica of Santa Croce, in the chapels of two very important Florentine families, and you will understand what does it mean Renaissance, because even Giotto is 1300, so it's meant to be the Middle Age, but in a way we start to see what is this new approach towards the definition of the space, but also the definition of the human body in art, in different actually postures, showing new gestures, and most of all, emotions, something that is really the most impacting aspect of Giotto. Or
Absolutely.
if, for example, also go to the city of Assisi, where actually we have the tomb of St. Francis, you will have the chance of admiring incredible, breathtaking frescoes by Giotto. And
yes, so, I'm sure you haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure, like you, like everybody else, should be seeing it. That they will go to see the Scrovegni Chapel in Padua. So we definitely get to cover it, and we specifically have a shot of the Kiss of Judas. Yes, it is. It is really incredible. So everyone, you can check that out on our other video, but we definitely will. It's so funny. We did not go into a lot of the churches of Florence. So there's always plenty of material to go through, and we definitely want to do that. And also Santa Maria Novella is a whole other thing. I'm going to have you come around and talk to me about Santa Maria Novella and Ghirlandaio and a bunch of other stuff. It's just, everything's great. And you are right. I do fall in love with Florence every time. As I have, I have to tell you. So I was taking a car ride through Tuscany, and this trip that these trips that Dylan and I were taking, we were in Amalfi, Naples, Capri, the countryside, San Gimignano, Pisa, Cinque Terre, Venice, and the Veneto region. I was like, this country is just so incredible, because it's just like, it's not just one city. We are very lucky to be able to live here. But I also wanted to think, I was just thinking as you were talking, to note that, in the beginning of our video, you and I are talking in front of the Duomo, but the Duomo's facade was never really finished. But the church, the bell tower, the Giotto bell tower, was really finished, wasn't it?
Yes, was there. The tower was
always
there.
Done.
Let's put in a kind of funny way. The inhabitants of Florence, the citizens, were paying taxes for the making of the entire monuments. And it takes a little bit of time build something like this. Infrastructure, things about in Italy or in the States or whatever our podcast listeners are. It takes a little time to build something. And of course, you get mad because you don't want to waste your entire lifetime not to be able to see something like that. And I mean, mostly for the cathedral. So the city of Florence decided that they would speed up on the tower, because despite the difficulties that would have been, facing, anyway, they knew that we would have been faster in building the tower. So there was a time when the tower is completely done. We are in the 70s of the 1300. The tower is done, and it has marble all around. Just think about marble. Think how expensive now is to buy a marble countertop. Think about in the 1300. That would have been really the top of the top ever of the decoration. Shiny marble, beautiful. Never seen something like this. And immediately the imagination of the Florentines goes to this magical world that would have been the Roman time, the Roman Empire. And on the side, the cathedral is on the way, is getting built. It was a long process. It will last more than 120 years. The construction of that site. And funny, because at the very end, when the cathedral is done, they only had for the front, for the facade, just a small part. The rest were just, uncovered with just bricks. And it's all the story. So what to me is very interesting, and what I like to do when we are in a guided tours in Florence, is that we must analyze the building, the Cathedral of Florence, not just as a religious building. That is too obvious.
Sure.
You don't need a guide to know that in a church they go to pray. But what is the function of the church within the economy of Florence? What is the role of that cathedral within the political, the geopolitical order of the Mediterranean world in the 1300 America is unknown to the European, the American continent, and we don't go to Asia that easily. Therefore, Italy is the center of the Mediterranean, and Florence is the center of the center. Florence, don't forget, was a republic. We vote. We don't believe in the kings and by God, we don't believe in this. So imagine how amazing, though, was the attempt of the Florentine in doing what they were doing.
Sure, absolutely. From there, we go into the accademia, and we get to see the David. Now, we've spoken a lot about the David, but can we talk a little bit about some of the other pieces in the collection? In our video, we talk about the slaves of Michelangelo. So tell me a little bit about the slaves, and then some of the neoclassical statuary that we can see. These
okay, let's start from this one first. The accademia in Italian language is actually the School of Fine Arts. If I'm a student of School of Fine Arts, I say that I attend to the accademia. And the one in Florence is probably the most important one in Italy, because actually the origin of the accademia as a School of Fine Arts, it's somehow very strongly related to the Medici. Therefore, if you're a student of this accademia in Florence, you are very, an artist with a great chance of becoming important. And so there is a section of the museum that has the name of Gypsotech, where gypsos stand for actually the plasters. So there is a room where you may admire all plasters, so models of future statues in marble that actually are by the greatest directors that we had at the end of the 1800s, beginning of the 1900s. So it's very fascinating because, first of all, you can see the process before the making of a statue. So how big has to be the model? How do the artists utilize those models? And you will understand many secrets. For example, that is a very good start also to understand in which one are the differences with the artists of the 1500 and of the 14. So that means Michelangelo, what kind of approach they had in sculpting from the model to the actual marble piece. And though this is quite interesting, and I'm telling you right now that all this section of the museum must be just recently restored. So they repaint everything. To be honest with you, it's so recent, this opening, that I haven't had the chance to see the museum yet. The new way they displayed and the new setting of the museum. Really, it's like a week ago. Meanwhile, when you will be in a tour, visiting the accademia, and you want to have a focus on Michelangelo, the first thing I want to let you know is that the accademia is by far one of the most important Michelangelo's museum in the world, because you have the highest number of sculptures or works of art by Michelangelo. Now, beside the funny joke that I make with Rome with the Sistine Chapel is really the temple, let's say, to celebrate Michelangelo as a painter, but the Accademia is the place to celebrate Michelangelo as a sculptor, because you have several statues, not just the David, but then you have the slaves out of the prisoners, and then you also have possibly another Pietà by Michelangelo. And what is the philosophy of Michelangelo as an artist? If you may have read The Ecstasy and the Agony, somewhere you may read that through the lines, but Michelangelo deeply believed that marble, it's if I may say, it's a material that contains the body, the shape. And that means that Michelangelo believes one thing, that he cannot actually really make the body, because the body's been made by God. And Michelangelo says, I'm just liberating that body from the inside of the marble.
Mm-hmm.
And so Michelangelo really sculpted in a way that you have the chance of seeing that slowly, slowly the body comes out of it. It's not like from the top, slowly, slowly is sculpted going to the feet, from the head to the toe. Actually, Michelangelo sculpted the entire body. Like, I don't know, imagine you are in a big basin, and slowly the water goes down and down and down and down, and so in a homogeneous way your body get exposed and is out of the water. Exactly this is what Michelangelo will do. And though the philosophical concept I can talk about, the religious concept I will talk about, really let these pieces, sometimes ignored by the majority of the tourists, they will help you to understand how strong, how intense, how important, how timeless is the statement of Michelangelo with the David. True. David is really a piece that I don't have words to describe how important it is, how crucial it is. It's like a before and after David. Michelangelo's David is that important. And then in the experience of the accademia, you have the chance of understanding from very close what does it mean a pietà. Of course, in the Vatican, you're lucky enough because you can admire probably the most moving one from a spiritual point of view, from a religious point of view, which is the pietà that Michelangelo sculpted when he was very young. But on the other hand, you can feel the fact that the artist was burning of ambition. He wanted to make a piece that will let him be the artist who get a great contract, because, you know, the story of the Pietà in the Vatican is quite funny. But in reality, once Michelangelo is a famous artist and is already dead, beloved by everybody in Florence, I would say in Rome, in the world, he starts to work for himself only. Michelangelo is the first artist who works for himself. He doesn't need any more to get a request, to get a commission, then he get the money. Michelangelo works for himself. And that Pietà, which is also hiding a mystery, is really fully Michelangelo made. There is a mistake by the artist. So we could talk just for that statue, ignoring David, for like 40 minutes.
Sure. Absolutely. Thank you for that.
And if I may say something, but we don't want to tell to everybody. So it's a secret between you and me, Rob. But exactly what you say, it's true that, you know, during the pandemic, one of the, let's say, positive aspect, if there is one, is that the museum were empty. So to be alone in front of Michelangelo's David, that's a wow, right? But we know that there are certain moments of the day which are not the typical one everybody may expect, where you can be quite alone in front of the David. And we know when we need to book at that.
Yes, of course. You know, and I know because you tell me sometimes when I ask you the special moments to go through. So, of course, the other main thing that one has to do, because, you know, we're going on the assumption if we have a day to spend and you know, our videos are set up so that when people couldn't travel, or even now, maybe there are people who can't travel, it's like, come along with me for a day. It's not like we're just doing a tour per se. People are walking along with me, trying great foods, seeing what makes a place so special. In Florence, it's the biggie. The other biggie after the Accademia, of course, is the Uffizi.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the Uffizi.
Well, how many hours, how many days we have?
No, just no hours, because that's why people want to come and meet you and follow you through. But tell us about the collection itself. So we can say that the Uffizi Gallery is probably the most important collection of Renaissance paintings in the world, or one of the greatest art galleries in the world. Would you say that is appropriate?
It is correct what you say. I mean, if we would like to be probably very modest, we will say that this museum is the It's the gallery with the most important art collection for the Renaissance art, or probably for the Italian Renaissance art. That, be honest with you, speaking with modesty, anyway, the Renaissance in Italy is quite important, as you also may know.
Sure.
But in reality, I would like to have a different approach. And again, I want to go always to the to the political aspect of art. In what I mean political, I mean the contribution that art has given into the evolution of the humankind. From this point of view, political, for making reference to the city, so to those who are in the city, so the people, the citizen. I will say that the collection that we have inside Uffizi is a collection of art that proves what Florence have done in the past. It means to strongly contribute to the evolution of the human imaginary. It means, what do we like now in this actual world? What do we think is the beauty? What do we think is what we do dislike? What actually is our taste? Probably as Western culture, sure, a strong contribute as be given by the Italians, let's say artists, painters, mostly in the Renaissance. Therefore, being in the Uffizi Museum, it's like to search for your DNA. Have you ever done those, that test?
Yes.
That you can trace your ancestors, right? You can see your 20% this, 40% that. Somewhere, somehow, the Uffizi gallery is like that. In front of a painting like, shall we give you the most famous one? So, for example, the Primavera, the Spring by Botticelli. We can easily make reference to the French Revolution. And the French Revolution is the time when, anyway, we set the values of what is the standard, let's say, in terms of rights of the people in the world, the citizens of the world. It means the constitutions. And the same American Constitution, anyway, will have a benefit after that. For it is that important. Probably I better be more precise. And though talking about the time of the Enlightenment, it means when we start to be more rational. So all the 1700 is the time we are getting in that precise moment.
Okay.
That's why this is amazing, because you can start to see how far is the contribution of the Italian art, how far it goes, and how far it comes from.
Okay, great. And so you're saying these origins, and then you're very good at taking these into modern time references, or these other references that take a focal point that people can relate to. I think that's one of your gifts. Excuse me, about this. Now, and in fact, I love when you were talking about the bell tower that was like a skyscraper, right?
Probably a skyscraper is a tower.
Absolutely. The towers came first, of course. Now, just to say that the collection itself was started by the Medici, because the building that houses them were the offices that were the administrators of the Medici family.
Correct.
Their wealth and their banks and everything, right? So Uffizi is Uffici, right? So that was how it initially started. And then it came into the hands of Florence.
Yeah, actually, it's the building per se. Mr. Giorgio Vasari, the architect, is a great, actually. He's a genius. He made a masterpiece. When I'm running the tour of the Uffizi Gallery, I always invite the guests, the followers, the guests on the tour, please just have a look at the building, because the building is a shrine of beauty. It's per se amazing. It's a work of art per se. And of course, it makes political statements. I don't want to go there now, of course. But, it's elegant, it's beautiful, and is also somehow an architectural promise for what the Baroque style is going to be. There are amazing, rooms. Like, for example, I think about the Tribuna, an octagonal room full of art in an incredible way. And there is a Venus, which is now known as the Medici Venus. You know that the Medici Venus was actually has been in the building, in the Uffizi building, since the very beginning, since the 1500. And that statue, besides, I don't know, World War I, World War II, has never left the building. That's quite amazing. You know, that statue has been there for the last 500 years. Or, for example, you can actually find paintings of the 1800 showing you how that room looked like in the past, in that time. And so also it means that we are able to trace the taste of the people of the past, what kind of paintings they would love, what kind of painting they wouldn't love. You will see Raffaello inside your feet. Raphael, amazing. You will see the only painting in the world by Michelangelo, not the fresco. Fresco is in Rome. Michelangelo only painted, let's say, twice in his life, let's say, the Sistine Chapel, and one painting, and it's in the Uffizi gallery. But then you will be able to admire from the end of the 1200, Giotto, and then you can see Simone Martini, one of my favorite. You will be able to see the very first artist of the early Renaissance. Now that means basically Masaccio, Beato Angelico.
Sure.
You will see the portraits of the Dukes of Urbino. So it means that there is such a variety. We can continue, of course, with Botticelli. Botticelli will be always, a moment. You will have, how do you call it? You say Stendhal syndrome. You are so much in love with the art that you start to feel weak because of the power of that beauty. And then what also I think is really amazing is the fact that in the Uffizi gallery, you are going from room into a room, and between them, there are so many sculptures. And that is kind of luxury, because you get to ignore them. There's so much beauty going on that you cannot look at everything. And you really feel like blessed. I don't know. I'm sure when you are in the Vatican, there is so much art that somehow you need to ignore something. And that to me is a sign of artistic luxury. It's a way I like to spoil my guests. We have so much, we just choose the top, the best of the best. It's fun in the Uffizi gallery.
It is. And fun. I've never, listening to you now, I always took it for granted, but yeah, it is unique as a building. You talked about the structure of it. I didn't think about it before, but it is unique in how it started. And it was probably a precursor to many other places that were collections of, office spaces and then art spaces. Wow. So much to go over, so much to talk about, so much to experience. Angelo, I think that's enough. The other people can watch a video because you do lovely explanations of the Ponte Vecchio and the Vasari corridor connecting the palace for the family of the Medici to these offices, which is really special. And you give us a little overview in the beginning. So it's lovely to have you so involved with the video. For all the years that we've been working together, I have so much appreciate what you do and what all the other lovely guys do.
Thank you. And before we say goodbye, don't forget, my dear friends all over the world, do not forget that you need to actually remember when you are in Florence, don't forget, you need to go to the restaurant, you need to eat some food. If you skip the restaurant experience, if you will skip the food experience, you're not traveling to Italy, because for the Italian, food is really crucial. The best moments are decided at the table. The best events ever are at the table with a glass of wine, with the pasta around. Don't forget to always plan the best food experience, because those will be the moment you will make actually, let's say, your holiday have a sense. The art will be the side dish and the food will be the best.
Of course, and we include food in the video, right? We have the bistecca fiorentina and so much more.
Correct.
And the pasta and everything else. And the wine. Don't forget the wine.
Of course. And a good coffee. But never a cappuccino in a restaurant.
Okay, Angelo. We have to set up the rules for Angelo's rules about the proper way to eat, especially in Florence and Naples, because people don't know you are Neapolitan, but that you've lived in Florence.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It was great to see you, and I hope to see you soon, that we can do more videos in Florence together, as well as more collaborations.
Grazie.
Okay. Ciao. Remember, guys, if anybody has any questions for Angelo, you can always, again, write to us at office@througheternity.com. Ciao, everybody. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Thank you for listening to our TE Talks with Guides. We have a new episode every Wednesday. Please subscribe to get an alert when each podcast comes out. Rate us and tell people how you enjoyed it, and share it on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Most importantly, if you enjoyed it, send us a feedback about the show. Also, if you are curious about what some of these people and places we talked about look like, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch the video on this podcast, where we have inserted special images for you to further enjoy the story.